Lou Knicks Nation. Let's talk about this ball game as the New York Knicks lose in Boston, and they lose convincingly. But there was some encouragement. There was some signs in this game in the third quarter where the Knicks made a big run, 23-5 run to pull within 4 in this one, and showed some life, some signs of life in this one. But the New York Knicks were outdueled late. Karl-Anthony Towns was hobbled. Mikal Bridges came back in the ball game, and the Knicks surrendered the run, and the Boston Celtics ran away with it. Finished 105-118 in this one, and the Knicks go 37-20 on the season. Welcome in to the post-game live. The streets are buzzing. Shout out to Knicks family. Give us your takes in this one. We shout it out, and let's react together as the New York Knicks lose back-to-back games now, and they go now 15-4 after a loss. So they lose some traction with back-to-back losses now after getting the dub against Chicago after the All-Star break. Right, 25 games remain this season. We've got some updates for you all. Mitchell Robinson is set to make his return within the week, confirmed by Shams Charania of ESPN pre-game, which was, some good news. Obviously, you received that before the game. Mitchell Robinson set to make his return at some point within the next week, right? But the reactions from this one, guys, much of the same in the first half, right? No adjustment from Tibbs, Precious Achua, right? Played some significant minutes, and that lineup, with Karl-Anthony Towns at the 5, with Josh Hart returning tonight, and OG playing with our normal lineup, right? It just wasn't enough defensively. Cat and the lineups weren't able to contain Boston and their firepower, getting anything they wanted, right? Switching and getting open threes, drives to the lane, all of that. And we're not really going to dwell on the first half much because we've seen it all before, fam. Same kind of story. These are the kind of looks that the Knicks were giving up. And it's just unacceptable. Kristaps Porzingis getting open threes. But really encouraging signs in the third quarter as the Knicks fought. They gritted their teeth. They went down as much as 27 in this one, but they fought all the way back to pull within 4 off a heroic 23-5 run. And that's the sample size you have to really take out of this game, right? And we're going to look at the plus minus and the box score. And another positive I take from this game is obviously we matched Boston's 3-point percentage. We held them to 38% on 44 attempts, and the New York Knicks shot 38% from downtown as well on 37 attempts. So we almost matched Boston's attempts from 3, under 10, and we matched them in terms of 3-point field goal percentage as well. Right, as Jalen Brunson went 4 of 9, he exploded in that third quarter. But what was the difference, guys? Defensively, the Knicks made an adjustment. OG Anunoby guarding up top, the perimeter, guarding Jason Tatum, and Deuce McBride coming in for Mikal Bridges. That was the big difference, guys, in this one. And that's something we have to take. Right. Anytime you can get a significant period of basketball where you go on a 23-5 run, 23-5 run against, this kind of team, you have to look at that film and duplicate that and erase what happened in the first half, right? It just wasn't good enough. Mikal Bridges struggling to guard at the top of the key on those high pick and rolls with Luke Cornett. By the way, most of those are illegal screens because Luke Cornett's stretching his legs so far out that it's just impossible to get around those screens. And but the officials don't call those. But nonetheless, 6'9" Jason Tatum, the threat to rise up is tough, and you need extra length. So OG Anunoby stepped up, and I thought he guarded in that third quarter really, really well. And Deuce McBride, ability to fight over screens, really helped as well. Unfortunately, Deuce didn't, get much going offensively, 1 of 7, but it was Cat getting to the bucket as well. Some nice passing as the New York Knicks, were moving the ball, getting up in transition and pushing the pace in that third quarter. And we pushed Boston back on their heels, right? What happened after that? Whether we ran out of gas, Cat had some, bad possessions as well. But you got to try to sustain that, right? That gives me some kind of hope with Mitchell Robinson returning, right? And you take that. We've got one more matchup against Boston in the last week of the season to go up against them again, make some adjustments, and two more games against Cleveland. So, what are your thoughts on that, guys? El Tango in the building. Salute, Johnny, Chiba. Salute to you, Paula, El Tango, James Baker, DeRas, David Haas in the house, and AP. David Hart says Tibbs got to go. AP says streets are buzzing. This team wants Tibbs to stay. They have to play for his job right now. AP says Macau, Bridges. Someone has to get moved in the off-season. James says, peace fam, we are out-coached, outplayed, and out-talented by Boston. Al Tango with the news, Mitchell Robinson coming back in 5 days, fam. Johnny says another fake comeback, sad exposure with poor coaching. So there were some adjustments, but it happened in the second half, too little, too late. But obviously Josh Hart's first game back. Last game was OG Anunoby's first game back. And I thought OG Anunoby looked a lot more like himself tonight. Yeah, he didn't have a good game offensively, but that second half, I think OG Anunoby did a better job guarding Tatum. We look at the plus-minus guys, Cat -1, and Deuce McBride -4, right, in a significant blowout. So, you look at those lineups. I thought Cameron Payne gave us really good minutes in 10 minutes. I thought he should have probably played a little bit more. I'm happy to cut Landry Shamet out of this rotation now. Give Pacome Dardier a chance. I think his length and ability to guard 1v1 on a Brown or a Tatum on a switch would have helped. But obviously 5 minutes, it's not going to kill you, man. But Landry Shamet giving up too much size. Landry did hit a couple of threes in this one, but it wasn't enough, right? But Deuce McBride was the big game changer. Him coming in, Bridges off the bench. What do you guys think? That's my biggest takeaway in this one. Eddie F says, salute, my friend said it well today. At least our expectations have been reset. For me, I completely understand for a lot of Knicks fans, definitely. For me, it's I still have very, very high expectations this season. I know there is a clear difference between regular season ball and playoff ball, and I'm definitely still holding out and, hope that this team is going to make some adjustments and get to the second round, at least. You've got to get to the second round and give it your all. Mitchell Robinson returning. Good thing is, guys, we're going to get at least, 25, 22 games-ish to see what that looks like before the postseason, right? So Mitch returning this season. Yours truly, big up. Great to see you. Martis God says coach needs to go. KC says the Knicks team is so gutless, sad to watch. Look, first half, completely unacceptable. And out-dueled, outmatched. Obviously offensively, Boston just got a lot too much firepower. 5-out look, Hart in the starting 5. I mean, Hart has to start for us, but he's not the level of floor spacer that Boston has. But you need to see the Knicks show their fight, and they did show that, pulling within 4. So, you take that. Now we just have to get back onto the horse, practice, start beating down these other teams, solidify the 3rd seed, and prepare for a potential second-round matchup against Boston, right? You've had 3 games now, there's film to watch, and Tibbs has got to make an adjustment, right? Deuce McBride should be seeing major minutes against this ball club, right? See, when Tatum goes cold, Brown goes cold, they fall in love with the 3. And that's how the Knicks got back into the ball game. Fam. Also, what a terrible defensive performance from Cat. Right? We can blame Tibbs a lot, but we can't blame him for Cat being a god-awful defender. You know, he doesn't have Mitchell Robinson right now, and you don't want to play Precious next to Cat, right? And so, like this Twitter user says, you know, everyone clowns the Wolves for trading 5 firsts for Gobert, but not a lot of people talk about how bad Cat is at the 5 defensively. It was absolutely brutal, man. And Boston are just going to chew that up and eat that up, you know, all day long, right? So Mitchell Robinson, man, you know, a lot of people are saying we can't pin our hopes on him, but it's got to be a case of going small or get Cat at the 4, get Huck Porty next to Cat, get Mitchell Robinson next to Cat, right? The only chance we have, fam, we do not have a chance with Cat playing the 5. And as remote as the chances are, even when he's at the 4, it's still a chance, and you have to make that adjustment, right? It has to be another center next to Cat, right? Because if you can limit Boston's threes, right? If you shore up the paint and protect the hoop, as I bring up the team stats, you give yourself a chance, fam. Look at the 3-point percentage. 38.9% from the Knicks, 38.6% from Boston. So we outshot Boston percentage-wise. They shot 44 attempts, we shot 37, right? But the things that Mitchell Robinson adds is obviously he's going to gobble up those rebounds and he's going to clog the paint on those Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum drives. So it's going to make them more of a jump shooting team against Boston. And you've got to live and die by that. Some nights they're going to make all the shots, some nights they might not. And it's a lottery ticket, but that's the Knicks' best chance, ladies and gentlemen. The Knicks' best chance to beat Boston is to play big, clog the paint, and you know, fight over the screens, you know, shore up the perimeter and make them a jump shooting team. And that's how the Knicks get their success. That's how they did 2 years ago when Emmanuel Quickley, you know, stomped a mud hole in them when we last won in Boston. And, you know, they fall in love with the 3 ball. And you saw Tatum and Brown visibly frustrated tonight for the first time in a minute. So that's a small victory, but in the grand scheme of things, still we are outclassed. And like I said, that's our best chance, guys. You know, and it's not all just pinning on Mitch's hopes. It's that look. It's get Deuce at the 2, shore up your perimeter defense, and get another 5 next to Cat. Right. I like the OG look guarding Tatum in that stretch, but ultimately his second game back, he ran out of gas. Right, and the Sixers got too many breakdowns. As Johnny said, what happened during that third quarter comeback that was missing the rest of the game? Yeah, look, it was lineups. It was simply lineups, fam. Mikal Bridges just ain't it. You know, Cat, big disappointment defensively. He's been great offensively this season, but he's played out of position. Karl Anthony Towns, to me now, guys, is a 4. Right? There's no debate. There's no, you know, there's no conversation to be had about trying to win a championship with Cat at the 5. Right? We've been playing him out of position. So you get him back to his normal position, and you limit Mikal Bridges' minutes, you know, get him down to 25, 24, and elevate Deuce's minutes. And Prezi the boss, salute, says we need to temper our expectations. It's funny, when we win games, we're elite, and when we lose, we need to fire Tibbs and blow the team up. This team is new, but we have to add brand new pieces. I think we can make the best of what we have for now, but yeah, there's definitely going to be some level of change in the off season, and I'm okay with that. You know, first year you learn about the team. So far, the Mikal Bridges trade has been, you know, a poor, you know, a bad overpay. Mikal Bridges on this team is helpful, but he's not the level of player that you give up 5 first-round picks for, and yeah, he's been really, really underwhelming. Right, the moment we start to even have a conversation about Deuce McBride taking his minutes, that lets you know that it's an unmitigated failure because you gave up 5 first-round picks for this guy. And we look at the plus minus tonight, guys. Mikal Bridges, minus 23. Deuce McBride, minus 4. Right. Bridges played 27 minutes. Miles McBride played 27 minutes. Right. That's the story from this ball game. Right. Now, Bridges gave you 6 of 13, 2 of 6 from downtown, but he has to give you something. Right. He's an offensive player as well. But really, really, really poor defensively. And it shouldn't even be a conversation because Mikal Bridges should be a defensive player, and he's just not. He just hasn't been. He's more of what we've been using OG as that kind of, passing lanes kind of guy, help defender, that kind of thing. But in terms of point of attack against Tatum, it's just too easy, man. He dies on a screen, man, like a snail. Like a snail dies when you step on it, man. That's how easily Mikal Bridges dies on the screen. Now, we had success with Deuce and OG. Also, did you see that screen that where Josh Hart, I think it was Josh or Deuce, just completely just ran through Jaylen Brown? Right, that's what we needed to see, some fire, right? And I wanted to see that. I wanted to see a guy run through a screen, man. Put the guy on the deck. Right. Who cares if they call a foul, man? You need to put some pressure on Boston. You need to make them feel you. Some level of physicality in this one. And if we can bottle one quarter, that's the one, man. Duras says Cat is a small forward. He's so finesse, man, and we're missing toughness. Sandman says, so when are you going to call for Tibbs' head? In the off-season. I've already been telling you, fam, I don't think Tibbs is the coach to take this team any further. Now, my hope was we could get to the Eastern Conference Finals and we could see a blueprint, guys, but in terms of this season, we are somewhat limited by our personnel, but Tibbs hasn't helped the cause with no adjustments, fam. And look, I was ready to pull all my hair out in the first half again. How do you give up looks like this to Kristaps, man? I live in Australia and I'm closer to Kristaps than any Nick in this possession, right? There's nobody within the area code of Kristaps Porzingis in this one, man. I don't even know who's guarding who. That was just a basic pick and pop as well. So, yeah. Biggest takeaways, Mikal Bridges, really, really poor defensively, and Karl Anthony Towns, you got to play to his strengths, We all know his weaknesses, and his strengths are offensively at the 4. Yep. Okay, P says, overpaid, absolutely been a major disappointment. Yeah, he has, man. He's basically a borderline starter, if we're being real, and he is a potential bench 6-man. And I'm all for rewarding, the young player coming up. Deuce McBride deserves a shot to start. But the reason they won't do it is optics. You can't bench Mikal Bridges because of optics. You already gave up 5 firsts, so the only way you can dodge that is to play Mikal Bridges less minutes. And tonight we saw that from Tibbs, man. Tonight was probably the first time when he just said, look, man, Bridges, have a seat. I'm going to rock with Miles McBride and see what Deuce can give me in this one. And the third quarter was, was rewarded with a nice run. Look, Cat, 18 rebounds, 24 points. I mean, imagine that production at the 4. Slide OG to the 3. Hart at the 2, or Deuce McBride at the 2, and Mitchell Robinson or Huck Porty at the 5, or Precious. But you've got to get OG back to the 3. Right. His length was troubling Tatum. Those guys were visibly frustrated, and I'll take it, albeit for a very, very, very small part of the game. You know, that's the first time we've ever made Boston, you know, frustrated, right? It's just a damn shame that the other three quarters just, you know, wasn't able to replicate. We were outdueled, and we ran out of gas as well. Brunson has to work really hard to get good looks. I thought Hart back really helped Brunson tonight. If you guys notice, Hart's ability to push the break and the connection that those guys had off the fast break, we probably don't get 10 to 15 points tonight without Hart's return and the ability to be that connector. Paula says, I think we needed an upgrade in the off-season, especially the bench. 100%, definitely. Chris Gotti says Bridges wanted to make his shots at the end of the game. Yeah, 100%. You know, you got to make an adjustment. I would cut Landry Shamet's minutes. Let's see what Pacome Dardier can give us because he's got extra size. And, you know, he could shoot just as well as Shamet. I thought Payne did fight. Look, Precious, man, 0 points, -9, 14 minutes. So Tibbs reduced his minutes, obviously Hart returning, and OG second game back as well. I thought OG still finding his rhythm. Obviously, we need more from him offensively. Right, had a nice open three in the corner and bricked it over the backboard. 10 points in 35 minutes. You know, I'm going to cut him some slack because it's his second game back. But for $42 million, man, OG Anunoby has to be giving you more, man, offensively. But he was one of our better players defensively in that run. Was a -9, fam, in a blowout. KC Armstrong says, the thing I keep thinking about as a long-time Knicks fan is, where is the intensity to start? The energy is not there. I'm not sure how to get that going. Yeah, you know, it's about pride. At the end of the day, the coach can do so much. I'm going to blame Tibbs on decision-making, X's and O's and all of that. But it's up to the players to actually come out and show that fight. So I do believe all the criticism for the poor starts does have to go on the players. You know, it's a mental thing, KC. I've said this a lot, but I think 50% of the game is above the shoulders. You know, it's mental. You know, focus, know your assignment, lock in, and know your role. Take pride. You know, play for your family, for your check. You know, the same way we go to work every day. We have our goals. You know, things we want to achieve in life. You know, these guys get paid, you know, ridiculous amounts of money. That, you know, they shouldn't need any more motivation. You know, to go out there and execute. You know. But yeah, you know, the New York Knicks against the Celtics have been outscored by a total of 63 points, man, in the 3 ball games, right? Tonight was obviously the best of the bunch. But I mean, like I said, I want to see more of adjustment in the, you know, moving forward. You know, Mitch coming back in the next week. Let's have a look at it, fam. But Cat playing the 5, I'm done with that experiment. And exactly like this person said, you know, everyone wanted to clown the Wolves for getting Rudy Gobert, right? But you know, it was for a reason. You know, Cat is just that brutal defensively. He can't anchor a defense right now. And if there's a hole in the pool or, you know, in the sink, the water is going to continue to flow right now. And we that's the first thing we have to solidify is our rim protection. And then we can work on our coverages on the perimeter and shore up that with the right rotations, fam. I think between Deuce McBride, OG Anunoby, I like those guys more fighting over screens on the perimeter. Mikal Bridges is just too soft right now. The switch I would make is put Mikal Bridges on the 4, the 3 or the 4, and get OG up on the perimeter. Because look, Bridges' length, like we saw against Nick Vucevic, you know, he can hold his own in the paint. I don't really think Mikal Bridges out on the perimeter is the best spot for him because he dies on screens and he just can't fight like Deuce or OG can. You know, we're just giving up too many looks, right? But yeah, our best lineup, we're really starting to see that Deuce McBride, you know, really needs strong consideration. Now, a big talking point online right now, and Tibbs is really, you know, receiving it, is putting Cat back in the ball game, right? Absolutely inexcusable. Late, he was hobbled, was hobbling his way back onto the floor, you know, and Christian Winfield says this is diabolical behavior. So that's a strong call out. Mark Berman says, and Tibbs is lost. Keeping Cat out there in the final minutes, he hobbled, is just bizarro. So a lot of people calling out Tibbs, guys. Tim Legler, ESPN, was also calling it out. AP says we need Dante DiVincenzo back. We need a player like that, definitely. A guy who can space the floor out more as well. Yeah, I think, you know, there's a chance you get Josh Hart to the bench, in my opinion. Let us know your thoughts, but my adjustment would be Brunson, Deuce McBride at the 2, OG at the 3, Karl Anthony Towns at the 4, and the center at the 5. Right, Mitch or Huckbority. Keep Precious coming off the bench. You got Josh Hart and you got Mikal Bridges off the bench, right? That's going to reduce the Payne Shamet experience because you got more experience off your bench now with Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Precious at you up. But my adjustment would be, yeah, get Deuce at the 2. Much more, you know, ability to contain the perimeter. And then obviously you're solidifying the paint once Mitchell Robinson gets back, and you've still got OG out there that can switch and help, be a great help defender, right? He can funnel, once Deuce McBride can fight over the screen or funnel, he can funnel the ball handler into a guy like OG. OG can, you know, get in and use his big wingspan and strip the ball handler. And that was working. You know, it was giving, you know, Jason Tatum a lot of fits because, yeah, they weren't able to get downhill. That's the biggest thing. You need to shut them from getting downhill and make them jump shoot. Because as we saw tonight, you know, Boston can have stretches where they start bricking, you know, especially if you can get some really, really good contests. So, you know, credit to Deuce's fight. You know, his minutes really need to go up, 30, 35 plus. Limit Bridges' minutes. Obviously, if it's games against Chicago or it's Detroit or it's those kind of teams where we need more offense, then yeah, you play Bridges more minutes. But I'm talking, you know, about these elite teams like Cleveland and Boston. Knicks 25 and 26 champs agrees you can't run 3 wings, Mikal, Josh, and OG in the starting lineup. Yeah, definitely for me, Josh and Mikal go to the bench. Deuce McBride next to Brunson. He also gives you ball handling and he gives you some more creation. Like Paula says, you need another ball handler. Buzzavita says bring back Ewing. Mitchell Robinson, I'll take right now. You know, I think it's our lottery ticket. And once again, anyone that's just joining us, salute to you. Big up, Knicks Nation in the chat. It's a rough stretch of the season right now, but you got to learn from these blowouts and make an adjustment. Otherwise, Tibbs has just got to go in the off season. But The key adjustment is Mitchell Robinson returning, solidify the paint, and make an adjustment on the perimeter with Deuce McBride. You know, it's obviously a case of, Mitchell Robinson isn't the complete savior. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it's your best chance, right? If you're going to go down in a fight, you're going to go down swinging with your best chance. And right now we have no chance against these teams with Karl Anthony Towns at the 5, right? Whether Mitch coming in gives us a 10% chance, 15% chance, a 30% chance, whatever that is, it's better than no chance. And I give us no chance if Cat is playing the 5. We've seen 3 games against Boston, we've seen 2 games against Cleveland, and that's enough, man. We don't need to watch the movie 6 times to know. So if Tibbs doesn't adjust to that, then we're going to go down, man. We're going to go down. But Mitch might not be able to play 30 minutes. You've got a guy like a Huck 40, that you're just going to have to play next to Cat against these specific matchups. Like I said, not every matchup, but against these specific matchups. Like I said, Cat can play the 5 if we're playing Boston, we're playing Chicago, we're playing Atlanta. We could pull their guys out of the paint. Duras, great comment, says Tibbs says the game will tell you what to do, but don't make the same adjustment. But don't make the adjustments that the game is saying. Yeah, or he does when it's too late, like he did in the 3rd. He saw Macau was just getting cooked, and it's just like, oh gee, get Deuce out there. Yeah, Cat's not that defensive center, fam, and we gave up 5 first for Macau, but the Timberwolves had to give up 5 first to get Rudy Gobert. And look, when you're trying to compete against Boston or Cleveland, it's nuanced, right? It's 4D chess, right? I don't blame the front office for the Cat trade. I think it was a good trade. The Bridges trade was an overpay, no doubt about it, right? But when you're better than 95% of the league, right, that's a good situation to be in. But unfortunately, when you're playing 4D chess now, or you're trying to enter the game of 4D chess, and you're playing against Boston and Cleveland, 2% of the league, unfortunately, they're just outmatching us. And you then have to make another chess move, and then you see what the other opponent's move is right now. But Tibbs just hasn't shown the ability to make that smart chess move. His chess move is putting Cat out there with 3 minutes to go when he's hobbled. It's crazy. But look, the highlight of the game, 23-5 run. Shout out to the guys that fought and cut it to 4 as well. Saved us some level of embarrassment, but yeah, we weren't able to hold on and keep it rolling, right? Obviously, when Bridges came back in the game, that's exactly when I felt Tatum got, he went back on that big time run. 100% agree, Al Tango. Mitch is our only chance because Cat at the 5 is crazy. Yeah. He's slow-footed. Basically, Cat's got a really, really big foot. It just is what it is, He's, dynamic offensive player. Crazy talented offensively. But defensively, he's a 4. Now, there's other adjustments you can make. You could put OG at the 5 and have Cat still guard the 4. But the problem is they're always going to try to pull Cat into the pick and roll. Whoever's on Cat, they're going to call that man against Boston because all 5 of their players can be offensive minded. And like I said, that goes back to a team that can play 4D chess. We can destroy these other teams that play 3D chess when you're coming to the table against 4D chess. It's different, man, and that's why you have to get Mitch in, play, lock down the perimeter, the paint, and so that if their guy does beat our man and get downhill, Mitch is intimidating, like you said. Not many people are going to challenge Mitch at the cup, right? They're going to get around the screen. They're going to start to get downhill. Mitchell Robinson's there. They have to look at the lob threat or they have to pull it back out. But with Karl Anthony Towns there, it's either a dunk, an open kick out because everyone's scrambling to rotate, or it ends up in a layup or a dunk. Because Cat just too slow rotating, or Cat is just not even rotating sometimes as well. Neil Gordon says, why not just play some zone? Yeah, that speaks to Tibbs's level of stubbornness, in my opinion. I get, like, each coach has their system, and some coaches just don't like to go away from that. But like I said, against 1% of competition, you've got to be willing to make that adjustment, right? If your style is good enough to beat 95% of teams, opponents, but you can't beat the other 5%, that doesn't mean that you don't make any adjustment. You have to be good enough to beat the best. To be the best, you've got to beat the best. And right now, we can't beat the best without making some adjustments. And I've said this about Tibbs's defense. He's got good fundamentals at times, but he doesn't like switching it up. Like Eric Spoelstra will bring the double sometimes. If a guy's cooking, he'll trap, he'll blitz, he'll pick up full court like they do against JB. But Tibbs just doesn't do that. So we have our lottery ticket, guys. It's Mitchell Robinson pushing Cat at the 4, putting Deuce McBride's minutes up, and that gives us a chance. Right? There's more basketball to be played, more games against Boston and Cleveland and other opponents. It might not be good enough, but you're not going to win a lottery if you don't buy a ticket. You're not going to go on a date if you don't ask the person out. You've got to be in it to win it. And right now, that's our ticket. That's our meal ticket. And if we play Cat at the 5, we have no chance. We have no chance, especially with Macau out there on the perimeter as well, playing major minutes. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to tip your cap to Boston because they've just assembled such a great roster. At the end of the day, the Knicks are a very good team. We could stomp 95% of the league, but when you're up against the final boss, if this is a video game and you're playing against, that you're trying to defeat the final boss, sometimes you have to come to the table with a different strategy. You have to be willing to eat humble pie, or you have to be willing to be flexible and deviate, because it's a hard thing to deviate from something that's got you that far. Tibbs's philosophy is to just double down. He's like, no, this is going to work. This is going to work. I'm going to double down. We just have to do it better. We just have to execute and all of those things. But sometimes your pride can get in the way. You have to be willing to adjust. Huck Porty, disappointment. No, not to see Huck Porty tonight, but I think with Hart returning, I think, and Mitchell Robinson's impending return this week, I think that's it for Huck Porty for now. Otherwise, but I would prefer to cut Landry Shamet out of the rotation and get Huck Porty in there, or Dardier. Like Buzzer Beater says in the chat, I spoke on the Victor Oladipo stuff last episode. You might have missed it, but I did speak on the Oladipo stuff already. I addressed it. There's some rumors out there, but nothing concrete. No reports from credible sources from the Knicks beat. So we wait to see, you know, whoever the 15th man is going to be, guys. I don't think that with the coach that we have, I don't think he's going to be a guy that is going to be thrown out there, man. Unless it's someone great that gets waived or bought out. And maybe that's what the Knicks are doing. Maybe they're going to wait and see if a guy like a CP3 gets cut from San Antonio, you know, with Victor Wembanyama out for the season and their tank game potentially coming up. You know, Greg Popovich, you know, with the sad news that he's not going to return and his future's in doubt. So prayers up for Coach Pop. But yeah, Chris Paul could be a buyout candidate, you know, to try to jump on a playoff team. If it's not Chris Paul, but if it's that caliber of player, I could see the Knicks definitely making a swing. But right now, I don't see really anyone out there currently available that's going to jump into our rotation. I think we just have to do best with what we have, and we have to put the best foot forward and, you know, play our most favorable lineups. You know, like you guys said, man, you guys are on fire tonight. I appreciate you. You guys said, you know, Tibbs looks at the data. You know, the game will tell you what you have to do, like Dara said. But Tibbs has all the data available, you know, to look at it. And Miles McBride has always been a part of our best defensive lineups. But like I said before, man, whether it's optics with Bridges, you know, it's a tough situation. You know, he's part of the Villanova squad. You know, Josh Hart has had his back this season. He's come to defend Mikal Bridges on numerous occasions. So that could cause a rift in the locker room if they were to bench Mikal or cut him. What I would do, like I said, is just to be strategic. Start him still, but lower his minutes. I don't think he would allow, you know, Leon Rose and co. They wouldn't allow the benching of Bridges to start games because I think, you know, the outside world would just have a field day. You know. HRM Great says to Tibbs' defense execution has been trash. And he also says Brunson has been playing good defense as of late. Yeah, he definitely led today with effort. He fought. You know, JB pulled us back in the ball game. Yeah, he took a lot of hits, played physical. That's what you want to see, you know. It's like you're playing in the park. Sometimes that other guy has just got more skill, but you can still beat them. If you got more will, you out-hustle them. That's our calling card right now. That has to be our calling card because, let's face it, against Boston, are we as skilled as them? Are we more skilled than them? Yeah, we could hold our own, but I think we're kind of kidding ourselves if we think we can, you know, match them 5v5 in terms of skill. I think it has to come down to adjustments and just playing more hard, playing physical. Now, the other thing on the wing stop, guys, OG Anunoby, $42 million man, and Mikal Bridges, you know, earning it, you know, a good check, and he's soon to be paid as well. Gave up 5 first-round picks for him, and gave up quickly an RJ and picks for OG, right? If those two guys aren't good enough to defend and hold Tatum and Brown in check, then you've got no chance. You know, those guys have to earn their money and win that, not win that duel, but at least neutralize Brown and Tatum, because otherwise, you know, we assembled a faulty roster in terms of trying to take them down. You know, that is going to be a failure on Leon Rose. Mostly, you know, there ain't nothing Tibbs can do in terms of making OG and Bridges play better. But if you're investing $80 million combined, potentially in a Bridges and an OG, and if they're getting smoked, that's a failure. You know, their calling card should be to come in, play solid to great defense, and try to, you know, stifle, you know, the best wings. And right now, you know, JB's not a defensive player. Cat's not a defensive player. Hart can't do it all. And so if the New York Knicks, can't get enough from Bridges and OG Anunoby, they're going to be the first two on the trade block for me in the off season. Not Cat, because you can still win with Cat. Obviously, players like him don't grow on trees in terms of the skills and the offensive lineup and the threat. But you can add around him together with Hart and Brunson. And you've obviously got Deuce McBride, who probably deserves all of Mikal Bridges' salary, to be honest, in terms of that level salary. I'm having a word to those two and say, hey, when the playoffs begin, especially, you're playing for your future in terms of on the New York Knicks, because those two would be the first on the block for me. You can't be paying those two $80 million and be getting smoked, defensively. Al Tango says, what's the use of having Hulk P, Pac D, if you never play them? I said it before, fam. I said as we get closer to the playoffs, and there's only 25 games left, Tibbs is not really going to change right now and incorporate a rookie. Right, the first 30 games of the season was the time to blood Dardier and Kolek, and he did it a little bit, but then he went away from them. And most recently, Huck Porty's been playing, but obviously the return of Hart and OG and the soon impending return of Mitch has changed that. So he's going to go back to situational in the Sims role. But yeah, to your point tonight, he needs to play because Cat was just getting murdered. As Jimmy Henry says as well, Tibbs is playing a lot of these guys that won't be here next season and leaving the young guys glued to the bench. Yeah, he'll go down on his sword with veterans. He did it with Alec Burks, Elfrid Payton, earlier Keith Bogans, those guys, Reggie Bullock. He's going to do what he's going to do right now. And we're going to hear the same thing from the locker room. Yeah, we just need to play better. It's not good enough. We were embarrassed, all of those things. And we're just trying to double down. But, look, ultimately, I do think we're going to get 52, 55 wins. We're going to lock up the third seed. We're probably going to win a hard-fought, really, really hard-fought first-round matchup against the likes of a Detroit or a Orlando or an Indy. But we kind of feel our fate, is kind of close to being secured, barring an unforeseen circumstance, maybe an injury happens to change things for a Boston or a Cleveland. But in the second round right now, obviously if things don't change with lineups, we're going to suffer the same defeat. And I would get Deuce out there more minutes. I want to see OG stay healthy for the rest of the season and really get back to a defensive type, all defense type of year for the remaining 25 games. And obviously Hart's back now. Hopefully his knee soreness can dissipate and he can stay, on the floor. I do think Bridges does look a little windy. I think Bridges, this Iron Man thing, guys, he's been playing his whole career, never missed a game, but you kind of see why. You kind of see why, right? He tries to fight over screens at times, but he doesn't really go all in, in terms of being physical. I think right now our bench is shallow, and that's the first thing that we can correct in the off-season, no doubt about it. I still have doubts over whether Mitch can stay healthy over a full 82 games, but if he can be kind of that playoff piece that wild card that you keep fit for the playoffs, and that if that's enough, then we can work around that. But yeah, right now it's tough. It's a tough situation to be better than most of the teams, but two teams are just a really, really tough matchup. And our front office does need to look themselves in the mirror as well. You know, they made all these moves, and you look at Cleveland, they were aggressive. You know, they were more aggressive at the trade deadline than we were, and that's a fact. You know, and if you continue to get better on the margins every single day, then you know you deserve success. You deserve to be where you are. I think Cleveland making that move for DeAndre Hunter and shipping out Karis LeVert, George Niang, that was a stroke of genius. You know, that's tipped the scales in their favor. Boston, we already know, are the reigning champs. And so we thought getting Bridges in and OG, we would bridge the gap. At the very least, we thought we were in the hunt in the race to bridge the gap. But the Karl Anthony Towns trade has made things more complicated as well, because you have to now play to Karl Anthony Towns' strengths. He's such a big piece. And so that's where we sit right now, ladies and gentlemen, hoping for a Mitchell Robinson impact, hoping for a Tibbs adjustment right now. But the future is not, you know, dead, because there is some salaries, some contracts to move. There is, you know, more basketball games to learn about this ball club, right? How much fight, what can they do with different lineup adjustments as well. But right now, they are what they are, you know, in terms of what we're seeing. And Tibbs is getting out coached as well. Buzzer says we are asking players to do things that they are not good or used to doing. Yeah, you know, I said it from the beginning of the season. You know, Minnesota showed the whole world what you need to do to be successful with Cat. And look, to our credit, we've kept Mitch kind of in terms of we're keeping him developing and getting him back fit and hopefully healthy. And this is the week. And I can't echo this enough. Like you say, like Buzzer Beater says, I hope that Mitch does make a difference when he comes back. I'm confident. I'm confident he will make a difference. It's just the level of, like, how much, you know? How much can we play him? You know, the assignment from the other guys when Mitch is playing the 5, you know, OG's back at the 3. Does Hart go to the bench? Does Mikal go to the bench? What do you think? Who would be the first guy you would throw to the bench when Mitch is back? Khalid says Dardier, Kolick, and Huck Porty are depth. Tibbs is garbage and has never won anything as a head coach. Yeah, I mean, I was preaching for Huck Porty to play earlier, you know, over Sims. You know, we wasted that opportunity. But we've started playing him recently. We've started to see. I do think Dardier definitely deserves some shot over Shamet. Kolek, I do think Cameron Payne, you know, Kolek deserves a chance, but I do think, you know, less of a spot available with Campaign's minutes, but definitely with Dardier and Huck Porty, you know, we're getting bullied at times. Look, I don't blame anyone that says Tibbs out. You know, you guys know what I do. I call it like I see it. I don't think he's the coach to get us over the hump. But I do think that the front office now deserves... I was more like, this is all on Tibbs. Leon's assembled a great roster and Tibbs is misusing it. Right now, I'm kind of like, they both share the blame, the front office now and Coach Tibbs. Green says here, Tibbs, the team is finished. I'm officially on the fire Tibbs train. This is ridiculous now. Like I said, I don't blame you. You know, I don't think Tibbs is going to be here to get us to that chip. But I do think that the front office has built a roster that has some deficiencies as well. And, you know, at the end of the day, the Cat trade gets a big tick. The Mikal Bridges trade. And obviously, you know, the timing. I question the timing. I question the overpay. The premise, I don't question. the premise of getting a Mikal Bridges on your team, going after a wing that can eat minutes, defend, and score was exactly what we needed. And with that, there's a risk. Every time you make a blockbuster trade, there's a risk. But this one has proven to be on the other side in terms of it hasn't repaid, the pay that we made. And so Mikal Bridges now, right? Do we cut our losses in the off season? That might be a significant question that we have to ask, right? He's up for a contract soon as well. Could it be a sign and trade? Do we trade somebody else? Let us know your thoughts, guys. But yeah, basically the players up until this point now, there's been a lot of blame, and definitely Tibbs deserves continuous blame. But I do think the players deserve some blame now as well, significant blame, because at the end of the day, you can question skill set, you can question fit, but you can also question heart and desire, and just being a grown man, just manning up now. Now today they showed us some fight in the third quarter, down 27. They was getting punked, and they made a huge run off a nice adjustment, but they let go of the rope once again, and just not enough fight. And at the end of the day, if you're playing in the park, like I said, and you're getting schooled, even if you're a younger brother, your older brother starts schooling you, at some point you have to fight back, and that's on the players, because they're earning the money, and if they want this thing to succeed and they don't want to fail, they have to fight. They have to fight like last year's team, right? If we go down by 2 points or 5 points, that's different to getting blown out. 105, 118 right now. The players that fought tonight, I see Hart, I see Brunson, I saw OG in that third. He ran out of gas, but I saw Deuce, I saw Cameron Payne fight. Defensively, Cat gave effort, obviously, but his shortcomings defensively. Bridges, not enough fight. Precious Achua, not enough fight. That's ball game. AP says Knicks are an above average team. Yeah, we just ran into a brick wall right now. We are a good team, and we can beat a lot of teams, but it's just a tough matchup. And I keep saying this: styles make fights. It's no different to boxing, guys. You could be a heavyweight champ, defend your belt, beat up on 8 bums, but when the next hungry, contender comes up, just like boxing, UFC, sometimes it could be a bad matchup and they just knock you out, and that's it. It happens to every heavyweight champion in the boxing world. It happens in the fight game. Styles can make fights, You could be better than 95% of the competition, like us, but just not be good enough for that other guy. Buzzer says, don't hold your breath until Mitch returns. I don't expect to see him until mid-March. So what date are we at now? We're 23rd of Feb. So we had word today, Buzzer from Shams, that Mitch is going to return in the next week. So we'll see if that holds up. But yeah, that's looking more likely. But before today, I would have agreed with you. It does look like they are playing it more cautious with Mitch, but based on today's report from Shams, he said Mitchell Robinson set to make his debut for the season in the next week. So let's look at the schedule. We have Philly. We have 2 days. We have Philly now on Sunday, and then we have Memphis on the road. So I'm going to say Mitchell Robinson, exactly like I predicted in the All-Star break show. I said the very first game potentially to see Mitchell Robinson would be Philly, and it turns out I'm correct. It just turns out that that's the perfect time You know, 2 days break now. He can get another practice in. And I do think now it's probably likely, especially with Joel Embiid banged up, it's highly likely that Mitchell Robinson makes his debut, fam, next game. Um, if it's not then I'm going to bring up the March schedule right now. If it's not against Philly, I don't see him debuting against Memphis on the road, especially against Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson. So I do think it'll probably be Golden State. Maybe Miami on the road, maybe Golden State. But I'll probably put 75, 65, 70% chance Mitch returns next game based on today's report from Shams. GK Salute says Bridges will be a huge decision in the offseason, depends who's available. Yeah, you know, the thing I love about the NBA, man, and obviously it's not great for the players, but it's great for us and just as a spectacle and as a fan, that it's just a crazy league and you never know what's going to happen. You know, I mean, who the hell thought Luka Doncic was going to get swapped out for AD? Who would have thought Jimmy Butler to start the season would be traded? And who would have thought that, you know, it looks like Kevin Durant is going to get moved, you know? He's fed up with the front office in Phoenix. With that in mind, who the hell knows if Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't get frustrated in the summer and just assess his future and say, hey, right, you know, let's say Milwaukee, you know, bust out in the first round, you know, then what are we going to do? We're not going to hold Bridges out of any Giannis trade. You know, everyone's going to be on the block. If if Giannis Antetokounmpo is available, man, anyone not named Brunson is on the block for me, including Hart, including Cat. I mean, that's just the trade you have to make if you're a front office, if you're a president. So yeah, like you said, huge decisions to be made in the summer, guys. But you know, I'm definitely expecting it to be a busy one. You know, and it might not be a guy that high up in terms of the pyramid, in terms of a Giannis. You know, it could be a guy like, you know, it could be a really significant player. I know Houston is going to make some changes, definitely. You know, they're definitely going to make some changes after the playoffs. You know, they've got Jalen Green, Tari East, and Jabari Smith. They're going to make some decisions as well. You know, Memphis might make some calls. I would definitely try to get Jaren Jackson if I can. I do know the Knicks have been really big fans of Jaren Jackson based on reporting. Now, you know, I don't like our chances of trying to get in on that, but, you know, you definitely try to go for it if you can. He'd be the perfect switchable big to play next to Cat. He's the defensive demon that we need. You know, a lot is going to be placed on what Mitchell Robinson does in this stretch, and you know, what we're able to look like with him. And obviously, if he's great, you know, he stays and we build another backup behind him. Maybe we do go for a Clint Capella. You know, maybe a cheaper alternative comes available as a backup as well, and Huck Porty can be the third string. But if not, let's say Mitch doesn't have much of an impact and can't stay durable, then that's a guy that the Knicks will be looking to make a decision with as well. I think where things got tricky as well is OG's contract, guys. You know, I don't know if the front office expected to pay, you know, 42 million per. I think he had the Knicks by the balls when it came to negotiations, because smartly his agent, you know, whether he, you know, leaked it to reporters or not, but Philadelphia became a destination, and that was enough leverage to, you know, to squeeze 42 million out of the New York Knicks, because Leon Rose couldn't have traded for OG and let him walk. You know, you just can't do that. And so here we are. We had to overpay. We had to overpay OG, and we had to overpay to get Bridges. David Haas Jr. says off-season Tibbs gone. I would sign off on that. OG or Mikal gone. Giannis in. I think 2 of the 3 are definitely plausible. 2 or 3 or 4 of the 3. Tibbs, I could see one of OG or Mikal going, and I would damn sure like to see Giannis come in. Putting aside the realistic chance of getting a Giannis, I will say this: we would be top of the list if Giannis asked for a trade. Now, whether or not Leon could put together enough assets is another thing, and whether or not whatever the Bucks are going to do, which is probably tank and rebuild, would be the most likely thing. But we would be top of Giannis's list. You know, he does continue to flirt with the New York market. You know, even he's joking about, you know, another European star coming to the Knicks. Like GK says, start rooting for the Bucks to dump. Well, I think it's inevitable. I don't think we really have to. I don't think we have to, you know, hope that the Bucks will. I think it's going to play out. I think that story is going to play out in Milwaukee. I think Giannis is still young enough. He's hungry. He wants to keep winning. Huge Greek community in New York City. I mean, I've got Greek roots myself, guys. You know, so I know all about what Giannis is thinking. He would love to play in New York City, and so yeah, it's about, you know, yeah, this could be the season. You know, the Bucks don't get there. They're kind of already moving that direction. You know, moving on from Middleton to get a younger guy like Kuzma. I don't think you go to LA. I think they're stuck right now. Buzzer says CT Jaren Jackson Jr. Why is he in the rumor mill? Just to correct myself of what I said earlier, I think the Knicks have had interest in him for a while, and there is a connection to the organization. His father, Jaren Jackson Sr., was tied to the New York Knicks organization through Westchester. He was a coach, I believe, or a scout. So Jaren Jackson's father was, you know, tied to the organization, but just the Knicks as an organization are fans of Jaren Jackson. So whether he hits free agency, or, you know, if there's an opportunity, if Memphis, you know, change course, I'm not saying it's imminent. I'm not saying Memphis are putting him on the block. I'm just saying he's a guy that the Knicks would definitely like to get. So yeah, we'll see, man. It's going to be a bumper off season. It's going to be busy, but I'm not thinking about that too much right now. You know, I need to see this team go to battle, and definitely give it a shake. You know, look, if we lose in round 2 to a Boston or a Cleveland, and we make it a series, we make it a 7-game series, a tough, hard-fought 6-game series. You know, that's different. That's different, you know, in my opinion. You know, that could give you some optimism in the off season to do some tweaking, some adjustments. Yeah, we come back next year better as a team, deeper team, and we make another run. But if we get our butts kicked and, you know, we get swept in the second round, or gentlemen swept, and it's the same looking story, then I think there'll be wholesale changes. Yeah. I don't know if a TJ Warren's making much difference, but Danny, yeah, he seems to be the guy that makes sense for us, and definitely a guy that I would get in here. Susan says the Knicks might be interested in Triple J. They will be, but I don't know what's going to happen in Memphis. You know, it's just a tricky scenario because, yeah, they're trying to compete in the West as well. You know, it's an arms race right now, guys. You know, it's no joke. But I want to wrap up by saying this, right? Tibbs deserves criticism. Like I said, the front office deserves a lot of criticism right now, and we're going to continue to talk about that. But I want the main story to be about the players, right? At the end of the day, if you're getting your butt kicked, right, sometimes no one can save you but yourself. You have to play hard. You have to play with more pride. You have to play with more energy. It's inexcusable to come out slow and not fight, right? There's nothing stopping you from running through a screen, right? The players don't need Tibbs to help them run through a screen, right? The players don't need Leon Rose to pack their lunch, right? They have to come to play. They're earning. OG Anunoby is earning his money now. He got paid. It's time to make that worth it. Karl Anthony Towns is one of the highest paid players in the league. He has to show it. Jalen Brunson, yeah, he could hold his head up high today. He played hard and offensively, you know, carried us and got us back into it. Mikal Bridges, right now, he's not earning his keep right now. And so, like I said, those other things are a factor. All these things can be true, right? But at the end of the day, I want to see this team, if they do lose, I want to see them fight. You know, they need to show more fight, right? If you're outclassed, you know, it happens, you know. Not to say it's a good thing at all. And we have to obviously make changes, but the players have to play harder and play better. You know, there's just no doubt about it. You know, and I do think they will, right? I'm a glass half full kind of person. I do think when the playoffs hit, reality will sink in. Hopefully this happens before then. But, you know, whether it's a hard-fought first-round series or a couple of tough losses in the remaining 25 games, but these players have to understand now that this is the season on the line right now. The season is winding down, and it's going to be money time any minute now. And let's see, man. Mitchell Robinson, as I predicted, I think he's going to make his debut in the next game on Wednesday, the 26th, against Philly at home. Man, we can basically end Philly's season. Philly are 20-36 now. They've been overtaken by the Brooklyn Nets, and Philadelphia are in they're so far out of the picture. They're in 12th, right behind the Brooklyn Nets. Right, and a fun fact for you all as well: the Brooklyn Nets are one spot away from giving up their first-round pick to Oklahoma. Right, their pick is top 6 protected, and right now they have the 6th worst record in the NBA. So I don't think Brooklyn are going to be dumb enough to continue winning and give up their pick to Oklahoma, which would be suicide. So bad that the Nets are that they're about to give up their first round pick to Oklahoma because they keep winning, man. Claxton, D'Lo Russell, there are other guys, you know, they just keep winning, man. They're better than Philly right now, which is crazy. You know, Philly are an absolute embarrassment, man. They're worse than we could ever be because they're putting out Paul George, Joel Embiid, a former MVP, and Tyrese Maxey, and they're in the 12th spot below the tanking Brooklyn Nets. Man, that's an absolute embarrassment. And the league is in trouble. If Oklahoma City Thunder get another lottery pick and the chance to potentially get the chance to add a Cooper Flag or another lottery talent to their already stacked roster, then there is serious problems for the rest of the league, man. So the Brooklyn Nets, man, keep an eye out for that, man. They're on a 1-game winning streak right now. Can Philly catch up? I don't know, man. What if Philly say, hey, we're just going to shut MB down and we're going to start losing now? Then Brooklyn's kind of screwed because I don't think they can be worse than the Raptors, the Hornets, or the Wiz. That's going to be tough. So that is crazy right now. Buzzer Beater says we have the 8th hardest remaining schedule in the league now. Yeah, it's not. I'm not concerned too much because there's only 25 games left. We've basically done the heavy lifting, Buzzer, for this season. We are, barring a complete collapse, we are going to finish 40, 55, 50 wins and basically lock up the 3rd seed. Our priority right now should be getting prepared for the right lineups, the right adjustments, and staying healthy. Look, there's a chance if we do collapse a little that Indiana could catch up, or Milwaukee. But right now, that will probably be a more favorable matchup, if I'm being honest. Right now, the Knicks are facing the Pistons. However, if you hold a gun to my head and say, who do you want in the first round, the Bucks or the Pistons, I would probably choose the Bucks. So maybe the Knicks dropping down to the 4th spot could be a blessing in disguise. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying I want it to happen, but it could be a blessing in disguise. Maybe it doesn't even matter. Maybe Detroit surpass Milwaukee. Maybe Orlando get together a run, man. They're only a few games back as well. So, yeah, a lot of games to be played, man, but appreciate you for the stat. The biggest thing I'm worried about is just staying healthy. We can't afford to lose any guy in our main rotation. We're that shallow in terms of depth, right? If Hart's out, if Hart's knees continues to give us problems, then that's going to be tough. Now, unironically, if we can sustain an injury to probably Mikal Bridges, because Deuce McBride comes in, and that's probably a more favourable lineup, if I'm being completely honest right now. Not to say I want anyone to get hurt or miss time, no way. I'm not saying that. But I think unironically, out of the starting 5, if there's one guy the guy that we can most afford to be without, I think it's probably Mikal Bridges. I don't think we can win a tough matchup against Detroit or Boston or Cleveland without OG Anunoby. We just can't, man. He's our best wing defender. We definitely can't really win a series without Josh Hart, in my opinion. So we need those guys healthy. So would I push for 58 wins? And no, I wouldn't be worried about that right now. I don't care if we finish 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 3rd. It really ain't going to change too much, in my opinion, fam. If we're not healthy, But anyone not named Boston or Cleveland, I'm not worried about, right? In terms of first round, Pacers, Bucks, Pistons, Magic, whoever it's going to be, we just have to be healthy. Obviously, the second round, it's going to be a completely different story and a completely different headache right now. We're just not on that level, man. There's clearly a tier, 2 tiers, and then the New York Knicks, right? With respect to Cleveland, I think Cleveland are a better team than Boston right now. Having just played, the Cavs and the Celtics, I think it's fair to put Cleveland in a tier of their own, or maybe a tier with OKC, and then Boston, because they are 6 games behind Cleveland. So you've got to give Cleveland their flowers, and then it's the New York Knicks after that. Susan says, don't worry, Leon Pokerface Rose is going to fix it next season over a lunch date. He has to get busy right now. And look, I'm a proponent of things can be salvaged. We're not the Phoenix Suns. we're not the LA Lakers with our future completely, despite what some people say. We are very flexible, in my opinion. So I'm still excited about this core and this run that this team can make in the upcoming years, fam. Because we haven't paid Mikal Bridges his contract renewal yet, and thank God we haven't, because the New York Knicks will have serious leverage in that. If not, trade, sign and trade, or trade. We have his full bird rights. There's going to be some team out there that would be interested. A smaller market team maybe. But also, yeah, OG Anunoby's salary is tradable as well. So I do think we can make some tinkering. In terms of falling in the standings, I think, yeah, we could be caught by Indiana, Milwaukee, but I don't think it's likely. I don't think it's likely, fam. I think the Knicks will finish third, right? We have a lot of firepower. We have some pride. I think we are going to, beat down the rest of these teams, fam, enough to get the third seed. We look at the next two, fam. We've got Philly. That should be a win. We've got problems if we can't beat Philly at home. Memphis on the road. Look, they'll be looking to get back after our beatdown at MSG. And then we tick over to March. We've got Miami in South Beach. The Golden State Warriors at home. That could be Steph Curry's, swan song at MSG. Got Jimmy Butler coming in. A tough West Coast trip. The only thing that can derail this team before the postseason is an injury, fam. Knock on wood. But I think we will get 54, 55 wins, third seed. But in terms of threat, Indiana, they're only 5 games back, so they could put together a run, and they do deserve to be respected because Indiana did send us packing, albeit with a lot of injuries and mitigating circumstance. But Indiana are a matchup that can give us problems. But the Bucks, we should beat them. Yeah, man, it's going to be tough right now. Now, with the date, we are heading closer to adding or being able to add a player to our roster. I mentioned the CP3 thing. I think the Knicks might be really working the phones to see if they can get a serious piece above a TJ Warren, an upgrade from that. There'll be more teams finalizing their playoff rosters as well, guys. So the playoff roster buyout deadline is approaching in the next week as well. So I think it's the first day that we can sign TJ Warren or a piece is the day that every team has to finalize their playoff roster. And so look out for a flurry of buyouts. Hopefully somebody that can help this team can shake loose. It might be a defensive kind of guy now. I've kind of changed my stance where I was hopeful for an offensive-minded guy, but right now we got bigger problems, which is on the wing. So, yeah, I'll be looking to see if there's a defensive kind of guy that gets bought out that can help. If not, obviously you go maybe an offensive TJ Warren. You look at elevating Pacome Dardier. Maybe play him for, in the final stretch, see what he can do. Bam. We've still got 25 games left. Right. If Tibbs can dust off Pacome Dardier and he can take some minutes, that could be a big win for now and for the future. That could be a big win for now, man. Sometimes you just need to look internally as well. Like you guys said, Tyler Kolek can run some pick and roll. Huck Porty's kind of on the periphery. He's getting an opportunity, so I'm quite pleased about that. But obviously, Mitch is an upgrade, so I'm not going to complain if Huck Porty's on a DNP. But he's shown us enough for his rookie year. Mitch is back now. Let's see. But Dardier is the most intriguing out of them all, because if Bridges is a piece that you might want to flip, if Bridges continues to underwhelm, that's the next guy up. That's the next man up. Maybe Kevin McCullough next season. For anyone worried about Kevin McCullough this season, forget about it. The guy can't stay healthy. It's a red shirt year. Forget about Kevin McCullough, man. He's played 2 G League games and got injured again. So this season it's a wrap for Kevin McCullough. He's not going to play any meaningful minutes outside of mop-up duty. But you could see Tibbs does see some things in Dardier. He does play him earlier in the season. First game of the season. You could see that he's probably showing some signs in practice. He just doesn't fully trust him yet. He just fully doesn't trust Dardier. Johnny says Kev Jr. is a 26 hero. Yeah, I think he's a piece that could hopefully help if he can stay healthy. Buzzer says CP3 and TJ would feel like real help over what we have right now. Big time, like you said it. Big time. CP3 would be a serious talent for the playoffs. He could help Brunson play off ball. He could carry the offense a little bit, give us a little bit of scoring as well, definitely, fam. And also TJ with the shot making and the stretch ability. I think TJ could play the Bogdanovich role from last year's playoffs. Now, against the Boston, he might not see any minutes, but first round series against Indiana or Detroit, yeah, we're going to need that help. We're going to need some help. So, but don't look now. Mitchell Robinson set to return within the next week, says Shams Sharania. He's usually on the money because he did predict the OG return. So let's see, guys, as we have a few days rest and we talk about it coming up. Right, we've got the Sixers next coming up. That game is coming up on, I'm going to correct my graphics, apologies, Wednesday. The Sixers next up on Wednesday, 7 p.m. tip, MSG, and let's get the bounce back win. Take some adjustments from this ball game, but for the most part, man, we just have to play better. We have to play hard. We have to play smarter. And these players, man, they have to man up right now. Put on their big boy pants. Otherwise, adjustments are coming in the off-season right now. GK, appreciate you, salute. Johnny, appreciate you. Vaughn Allen, Susan, Buzzer Beater. And let's get it. Chat AP. New York Knicks disappointing again. Blowout loss. But showed some signs in the third quarter. But ultimately, man, we're getting closer to understanding the ceiling of this season and the potential future of this core. Right? Leon Rose, Tom Thibodeau going to be having meetings, making some conversations, throwing some suggestions out there. But right now, man, we've got 25 games to play, and let's make the most of it, right? Let's make the most of this season, right? Whether we flame out in the second round or not, right? You have to build. You have to keep building so that next season we know and we come ready, we come prepared. But right now, there's serious questions over Tibbs, some of the starting five, Leon Rose's selection and moves, and basically no one can duck the smoke because it's clear, man. It's obvious now after these big time matchups, and the New York Knicks just haven't been competitive. Right, peace everyone, big up, and I'll see you on Wednesday.